Welcome to Module 4, Overcoming Powerful Emotions. Let's take time to tune in, get present. Taking a deep breath in and breathing out, relaxing the shoulders. And on the next inhale, just scanning the body from head to toe. And then checking in with the mind and just noting what's there. And just putting any worries or concerns aside. Setting our intention to get present to overcoming powerful emotions. Okay, so just take the time and look at the images below, and we've all kind of experienced those kind of emotions. And I guess the powerful ones like anger, like fear, frustration are some of the strongest ones that can arise in our life. So let's have a quick recap what you did to the last time you watched the module 3. What did you take on and what results did you get? And just really start to think about what things are you actually changing in your life. So what we're going to discuss today is we're going to actually look at what are emotions. We're going to look at the mind-body connection. We're going to understand why we get overwhelmed. And we're going to get present to the consequences. And then there's going to be some tools of how to overcome powerful emotions and let go. We're going to use mindfulness to understand these. So what are emotions? Here's the definition from the dictionary. An emotion is a conscious mental reaction, subjectively experienced as a strong feeling, usually directed toward a specific object and typically accompanied by a physiological and behavioral changes in the body. And here's some examples that we know of emotions. So this red-faced anger emotion, we just want to let it out. We've got the sadness, hopelessness, We've got kind of indifferent, joy, love, what's the point kind of attitude, and fear is a big one. So let's kind of look at our emotions in a different way. Here's a different slant on it, provided to us by Rumi from the Guest House poem. And he says a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. So be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So this depicts emotions as kind of messengers. They come with a message. So there's something behind them that they're trying to communicate to you. So let's just take a moment and think, what powerful emotions are you currently experiencing, and how do they affect your life? So one emotion that comes to mind for me that's ruled life for many years has been fear. And it's been so powerful that it has limited me actually starting with things. It's the fear of failure. It's the fear of the unknown. And it is just debilitating. Some fear is a kind of a good fear, because it lets you know that maybe we shouldn't walk down that dark alley. But then other fears, especially inauthentic fears, ones that haven't even happened yet, can just really just stop you in your tracks. And what it does, as we found out last week, to the brain, it just shuts down the prefrontal cortex. So this, we can't plan, we can't think about, so we actually just become stuck and can't do what we want to do. And that's how it affects our life. It's how it's affected my life. But once you're aware of it, then you can start to work with it. And the reason that it is so important that we do work with these powerful emotions is because the body keeps the score. That's one of the recommended books for this course, is to read and understand that the body keeps the score. Because within these emotions, if they're not expressed, like anger, it can be suppressed in the body and come out as illness. And there is plenty of evidence for this, but we don't want to believe what we know. But it's for you to explore and be curious about it, because there is a mind-body connection. Let's explore it in a bit more detail. So we got the mind, and let's say the mind starts manifesting in impulsive thoughts, and a negative mindset starts ruminating in all these what-if scenarios. And then what happens is we actually feel those emotions, even if they're not happening right now. We feel it. So there's this monitor here, this gauge on the emotions. So if we're really negative, we're in the red zone and it's the danger zone. If it's joy, we're in the green zone. And then those emotions actually affect our behavior of what we do and what we believe. And it also affects the body. So it manifests itself in aches, illnesses, and pains. So next time that you have a backache or you have a pain in the back, start to think, actually, what have I been thinking about? What's going on in my life right now? Is there a connection? And one of the doctors is Dr. Sano, that you can look into this. He's done lots of work on this and actually cured tens of thousands of people of backache pain because of this phenomena. So I invite you to look into that. So let's bring it a bit closer to ADHD and let's understand why we get this feeling of being overwhelmed. So if we look at some of the symptoms of ADHD, it's this lack of self-regulation. And the lack of self-regulation is to do with how you control and manage yourself and your emotions. It's your inner resources and abilities. So when these impulses come in and the impulsive thinking, so we think of something, we immediately feel it in a very intense way, and then we want to act on it. And we don't want to let it go because we have to act on it. And one of the things that I can share with you from my life has been that when someone asks me to do something, I have had this belief that I must do it now because if I don't do it now, it won't get done. And by having that belief and holding that belief, it means that I'm pushed around from pillar to post and just doing all these demands, and then the other things that need to get done don't get done. And that leads to frustration and anger because you come to the end of the day and you haven't done what you haven't done, and you self-blame. And you're not very kind to yourself. It's the inner resources is one tool that is also essential is self-compassion. And it's about giving ourselves that self-compassion and understanding to be able to let go of those beliefs, because having the fear of not remembering something, why not just to put in place a little note or use an app and say, okay, I'll put it in that I'll do that, but I won't do it now. And you defer it because it may not be an important thing to do right now. It's all going back to your intentions and checking that whatever that impulse is does it align with the intention that I've set myself? If it's a no, then it goes on a to-do list. If it's a yes and it's important, it's a priority, then of course do it now. So with this lack of self-regulation, the end result is that emotions feel much more intense. And we're also very sensitive to other people's emotions. So you may have heard of this empath. If the highly sensitive people, then that is something that we are prone to. And we've got to get present to the fact that we cannot control other people's feelings. They can only control their own responses, just like you can only control your response. And that's where we work on the mindfulness to be able to increase that buffer in between the stimulus and the response. So let's also get present to the fact that working memory is an issue. And it's an issue because the brain gets flooded with that emotion. So if we use fear, for example, as soon as the fear comes in, the prefrontal cortex shuts down. So we're not going to be able to remember. We're not going to be fully functioning to be able to log things in the memory. So we need tools. So we'll need to write things down. We'll need to have apps to make us remember these things. And it's okay. Again, bring that self-compassion into it. And get present to when you understand why you do what you do, then you can change what you do. But until you get present to the understanding why you do what you do, you can't let it go. So get present by looking at the disadvantages of holding on to that emotion. So the longer we hold on to fear and the longer we hold on to anger, the longer we are not able to get back to that rational thinking to be able to view all the options available. So it limits us. And when you get present to the disadvantages of anger, let's say for an example, you can start to see it, and it's like a boiling pot of water. It's bubbling, blah, 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 bubbling up. And what that does is it affects the body. And if you spend 70%, let's say, or even less than that, of your time in that state of bubbling, 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 then that long term is going to affect your health. That's the disadvantages of it. So if we were mindful and conscious of this, it's not something that we would choose. If you could have anger or you could have a nice peaceful response, you're going to choose peace because there's benefits for you and the other person. If someone's angry at you and you react with anger, you can't put the fire out with fire. You only fuel the fire, so it gets bigger and bigger. So mindfulness is the water. Mindfulness is the fire extinguisher. Put it out first. Cool yourself down and then get back into thinking rationally. You will not be able to think clearly when anger is present. So as you can see from this picture, it's the guy's got steam coming from his ears. So that's the boiling that's going on inside. Okay, it's like a kettle boiling inside. The steam's coming from the ears. He's squinting his eyes. He's screwing up his eyes, and that's tension on the frontal cortex. Looks like he's in real pain, doesn't it? Which he is. Physically, he's putting the body under some tension, some stress. So over time, what it does is by holding on to these emotions, the anger and the fear, they will lower the immune system. It will increase stress. You'll have less energy. It will impact all your relationships. It distracts you from what you really want. And it has a negative effect on your well-being and health, and overall will increase the suffering. So take a moment to ponder on the consequences of your powerful emotions and just think, what can you let go of? Okay, so hopefully you've got present to the consequences of your powerful emotions. So that's the first step, is actually just recognizing what they are. Then you can bring the forgiveness in. So as Steve says in this quote, the truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, unless you realize that the situation is over, you cannot move forward. So let's look in more detail to overcome powerful emotions and this process of letting go. So as we already said, that when we're in this intense and overwhelming situation, we really need to just calm the water, calm the intensity down. That's the first step. And there's a template in the members area with a practice for this, which is called Stop. And that is really essential to memorize and just have that in front of you and apply it to your life. So it's about just stop what you're doing, focus on the breath, and just take that breath in. We can just take 3 deep breaths now. And then you can ask yourself, have you done everything you could do in that situation? Ask yourself if you can control the outcome of the situation ever any further. Start writing about it. Start writing about the issue, what's going on, journaling it, and then screwing it up and letting it go. Shift the focus from the feelings to your values. Start to reframe the story in your mind. When you shift the focus, you can shift the focus from the anger to the suffering of the situation, both your own and that of the other person. So once you get present to the fact that all aggression arises from pain, you'll be able to bring some forgiveness and just free yourself. Got to get present to the disadvantages of anger, because when you hold on, and Thich Nhat Hanh refers to this as holding like a hot piece of coal. So when you're holding a hot piece of coal, this is anger, you're actually burning yourself. It's burning you. So you let it go, then it stops burning you. You've got to understand that with anger, you are the one that is suffering the most. The other person may have had an explosion and has forgotten about it. And if you're holding on to it, you're carrying it with you, and you're experiencing the suffering over and over and over again. This is where you can apply the love and kindness meditation. So here's 6 steps that you can remember. First step is welcome them. Welcome them, like Rumi says, every emotion. Yeah, treat them the same. Welcome, come into my guest house. Come in, come in, come in. Because if we're turning them away and we're saying, no, 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 I don't want you today. No, go, 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 go. I don't want to face you. No, no, no. They still want to come in, and they're still there by the door, and they're in the subconscious. They're still there. Okay, so we welcome them in. We welcome them in. Step 1. Step 2, label it. What is it? What is this emotion? Okay, there is anger. There is fear. Okay, so rather than saying, I am angry, you can say, there is anger present. Because this disconnects you with it, the emotion. So there is anger present. Then you get to number 3, thumbs up. You accept it. There's anger present. Then you get to step 4, time. How long has it been present? Step 5, start to investigate it. Get the magnifying glass out. Be your own detective. What is the trigger? What was the trigger with that? You know, what set it off? And again, in the members area, there's a template on triggers. So you'll be able to jot them down, what the triggers are. And then you can also say, well, what role am I playing in it? Is it of benefit to continue holding on to this emotion? Or is it better to let it go? Can I provide some forgiveness? What's going on with the other person? Are they in pain? Then you can let go. You can move to number 6 and non-identify with it. So let's look at this quote from Stephen, who's got a PhD in anger. I thought I had a PhD in anger, but I didn't get the qualification, but it definitely felt like it. So he's actually looked at anger in the age of entitlement. So he's looked at the where we live in the world. It's like we're entitled to be angry. And he's done some studies on millennials and younger generation, and looked at where this anger is bubbling up in this age of entitlement. It's like I deserve to be angry. I'm entitled to this. So he says self-regulation is more attainable when focused on values rather than feelings. So the latter should be evaluated as signals about reality, a means to self-regulation rather than an end in themselves. So you can start to bring forth what your values are, and then rather than how you feel about things, to really be grounded in the root of your anger. If one of your values is integrity, and it's important that you say what you think, well then that is going to it might upset people, because some people might not want to hear what you think. But if you're rooted in your value, that you feel that it's compassionate to be able to share it, and if you've shared it at the right time, just check back. Has it been the right timing? Is it true what you're saying? And is it of benefit? So using mindfulness to overcome emotions, as we said before, mindfulness is that buffer. It's the buffer in between the stimulus, the trigger, and the response. So the more you practice mindfulness, the bigger that buffer is going to be. That's it. Simple as that.
One of the most challenging parts of meditation is what's sometimes called the dark side of the mind. These are the thoughts and fantasies that we'd rather didn't appear in the mind. Whether they're exciting, violent, vengeful, or maybe even sadistic in nature. We might think we shouldn't be experiencing them. But these thoughts are perfectly natural, and there's obviously no need to act on them. But why do they seem to appear more often once we begin to meditate? Well, typically, we go through our day with quite a heavy filter on the mind, blocking out these thoughts that we don't like, either habitually or intentionally. When we block them out habitually, we're unaware that it's even taking place. We're just so caught up in our day-to-day thinking. But by meditating, we're creating more space in the mind. So it's not that there are more of these thoughts, we just see them more clearly. But when we're blocking them out intentionally, we already see the thoughts clearly, but we're resisting them, perhaps fearful of what they say about us as a person. But what meditation shows us is that we're not our thoughts. So there's no need to judge them, to identify with them. We see that they don't make us a mean person, a terrible person, a twisted person. And it's through this process that we discover peace of mind, allowing thoughts to come and go, at ease with the mind, exactly as it is.
So what mindfulness practice you can do is you can get to the root cause with insight meditation. You can do love and kindness meditation. You can do laughter yoga. You can do mindful walking, mindful running, breathing, eating. So all these practices are things that are designed to integrate with your life. So it's not just about sitting on a meditation cushion and meditating. There's a lot more that you can do. So just take a moment and just see what you can do to increase your positive emotions and develop your mindfulness practice this week. Perhaps you can take on something new. Mindful walking, mindful money, mindful relationships, mindful driving. Okay, so with positive emotions, it might be reading affirmations, getting yourself a pack of cards and just reading those every morning, changing your beliefs. So positive emotions can be thought of nutrients in the same way that we need to eat as a variety of fruits and vegetables to be healthy. We need a variety of positive emotions in our daily experiences to help us become more resourceful versions of ourselves. So Louise Hay is very good with these affirmations, and you can buy some of the cards and just read them every day. You can get a thought for the day. There's a website called Daily Om that you can subscribe to. They give you a newsletter every day. There's good news websites that you can sign up to just to start thinking in a different way. So here's the invitation this week is to take on a mindful practice this week and also to use the thought diary as an emotional journal to increase your awareness of the emotions that you're feeling. If you have any question on the content of this presentation, please get in touch. Just get in touch via the website or the members area. And it comes down to this question by Deepak on letting go. Ask yourself, do you want to become a prisoner of the past or the pioneer of the future? Always welcome your feedback. So please email us. And there's some videos, useful videos that you can look at. The Unstoppable Power of Letting Go, and some of the articles as well that you can find in the members area. You can also look at some of the research that's been done on how emotions affect the immune system and studies on positive thinking as well. Useful apps to explore is Dare, Calm, and Moody. Next week, we'll be looking at the ADHD effect in relationships.